Chapter 1: The Vanishing Legacy. For centuries, the Forgotten Ones had existed only in whispers, erased from history by those who feared their power. Their cities had crumbled into dust, their culture buried beneath the ruins of time. Legends spoke of their immense knowledge and the mystical abilities they wielded, powers that once shaped the world but were ultimately their downfall. Elias Thorne, a historian obsessed with lost civilizations, had spent his life piecing together fragments of their story. Every ancient text he uncovered, every relic he analyzed, hinted at something greater, a hidden truth that had been deliberately concealed. His research eventually led him to Velmyra, a once glorious kingdom that vanished overnight, leaving behind nothing but echoes of its existence. Determined to uncover the truth, Elias set out on an expedition deep into the wilderness, where the ruins of Velmyra lay hidden beneath the dense canopy of an untouched jungle. What he found was more than just a forgotten city. It was a mystery waiting to be solved, a past waiting to be unearthed. The moment he stepped foot on the sacred ground, a shiver ran down his spine. Something ancient still lingered here. Something watching, waiting. The Forgotten Ones were not merely erased. They had been imprisoned, and Elias had just taken the first step towards setting them free. Chapter 2: Echoes in the Dark. The moment Elias stepped into the ruins, a chill ran down his spine. The air was thick with an unnatural silence, as if the past itself had been frozen in time. The scent of damp stone and ancient dust filled his lungs, and each step he took sent small clouds of debris spiraling into the still air. He could almost hear the echoes of footsteps from centuries past. As he explored the ruins, his lantern's flickering light revealed cryptic murals lining the walls of an ancient temple. The carvings depicted a civilization flourishing under a golden sun, their people strong and wise, until darkness fell upon them. The next set of images showed a great betrayal, shadowy figures moving against the once glorious kingdom, a force that sealed them away beneath the earth. The final mural was the most unsettling, a depiction of eyes, countless and staring, as if waiting to be seen. When Elias reached the temple's central chamber, he noticed an immense stone door covered in more inscriptions. As he traced his fingers along the ancient markings, an eerie sensation crept up his arm. He felt as if something was shifting beneath his skin, an unseen force recognizing his presence. The moment his palm pressed against the door, a whisper echoed through the chamber, soft yet filled with centuries of longing. "We remember." A gust of wind, impossible in the sealed room, swept through the temple, and the lantern's flame flickered wildly. The Forgotten Ones had not disappeared. They had been imprisoned. And now, Elias had awakened them. Chapter 3: The Lost Prophecy. As Elias ventured deeper into the ruins, his fingers brushed against a crumbling stone tablet half buried in the dust. The inscriptions on its surface glowed faintly in the dim light, ancient symbols shifting as if alive. He carefully deciphered the markings, his breath hitching as he realized the significance of what lay before him. The Lost Prophecy. The prophecy spoke of a chosen one destined to break the centuries-old curse and restore the Forgotten Ones to their rightful place. It detailed a path fraught with trials and tribulations, a journey demanding both wisdom and sacrifice. but among its hopeful words, a chilling warning was etched in jagged strokes. "Beware the ones who walk in shadow, for they seek to silence the past." A sudden rustling in the ruins made Elias freeze. He wasn't alone. The realization struck like ice in his veins. Others sought this knowledge, but not for the same reason. There were those who wished to keep the forgotten ones buried in time, to erase their existence completely. This was no longer just an academic pursuit. He had uncovered a secret some were willing to kill to protect. The weight of history bore down on him. Should he risk everything to uncover the truth, to awaken those lost to time? Or should he turn back before he became yet another forgotten soul among the ruins? As he stood in the eerie silence, the prophecy pulsed beneath his fingertips, as though urging him forward. His choice would determine not only his fate, but the fate of the forgotten ones themselves. Chapter 4: Shadows of the Past. Elias's journey led him deeper into the ruins, where he uncovered hidden passageways and secret chambers, each revealing fragments of Valmira's tragic past. The air grew thick with an eerie stillness, as if the ruins themselves were holding their breath. The further he ventured, the more he felt the weight of unseen eyes upon him, a constant, unsettling presence lurking in the periphery of his vision. Faint whispers echoed through the corridors, words indistinct but heavy with emotion. Shadows flickered unnaturally against the stone walls, their movements detached from any light source. It was as if the past was bleeding into the present, no longer content to remain forgotten. In one chamber, Elias found murals more vivid than any before. Images of people frozen in agony, their faces distorted in terror, their hands reaching out as if pleading for release. As he traced the symbols beneath the murals, his fingertips tingled with energy, a sensation both electrifying and chilling. The moment he deciphered the inscription, the ground beneath him trembled. A gust of wind, impossibly strong in the enclosed space, swept through the ruins. The shadows thickened, coiling like living tendrils, and from their depths, figures began to take form. The whispers grew clearer. "You are not alone. You were never alone." Elias' heart pounded. He had not merely stumbled upon history. He had disturbed something that had been waiting for centuries, and now it was awake. Chapter 5: The Hidden Passage. At the heart of the ruins, Elias stumbled upon a narrow crevice, half hidden by overgrown vines and crumbling stone. As he pushed past the obstruction, he found himself in a dimly lit corridor that spiraled downward into the earth. The walls bore ancient carvings, their intricate details preserved despite the passing centuries. Along the way, torches flickered with an otherworldly glow, burning with a fire that seemed untouched by time. A sense of unease settled over him, growing stronger with every step. It was as if the air itself carried whispers of the past, urging him forward while warning him to turn back. As Elias ventured deeper, the temperature dropped, and an eerie mist curled along the floor. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls, pulsating as though they were alive. His fingers brushed over them, and a sudden vibration passed through his hand, sending a shiver up his spine. He continued onward until he reached an immense stone door, its surface covered in inscriptions too ancient for any known language. Unlike the ruins above, which had succumbed to time, this place was untouched, preserved as if waiting for his arrival. He hesitated before tracing the engravings with his fingers. As he did, the stone beneath him trembled, and the symbols flared with a ghostly light. A deep rumble echoed through the passage as the massive door groaned open, revealing a chamber beyond. The room was vast, its ceiling lost in darkness, and at its center stood a pedestal. Upon it lay an artifact, a crystalline structure pulsing with an eerie glow. Elias' breath caught in his throat. This was no ordinary relic. It was a key, a link to a forgotten past, the very thing that could determine the fate of the forgotten ones. As he reached for it, a gust of wind, impossible in the sealed chamber, swept through the air. The whispers grew louder, forming words that sent a chill through his soul. You have come, but are you prepared? Chapter 6, Whispers in the Wind. As Elias lifted the artifact, the chamber filled with whispers, a susurration of voices speaking an ancient tongue lost to time. Though he could not understand the words, their urgency sent a shiver down his spine. The inscriptions on the walls pulsed with an eerie glow, reacting to his presence. He was no longer just an observer. He had become part of the story. A sudden gust of wind, unnatural in the sealed chamber, snuffed out his lantern. In the oppressive darkness, the whispers grew louder, merging into a single voice that echoed in his mind. The time has come. A cold sensation wrapped around his wrist, and when he looked down, he saw faint markings appearing on his skin, the same symbols etched into the artifact. He had been chosen, or cursed. Beyond the chamber, in the ruins above, shadowed figures gathered, their hooded forms shifting like phantoms against the moonlight. They had been watching, waiting for him to take the artifact. Now they moved with silent precision, their intent clear. Elias's pulse quickened as he realized he had two choices: flee and protect what he had uncovered, or risk everything to uncover the full truth before they could silence him. The wind howled through the ruins, carrying the voices of the past. The forgotten ones had waited centuries for this moment, and Elias had just become their harbinger. The choice was his. Chapter 7. The Forbidden Knowledge. Determined to learn the truth, Elias pressed forward. He carefully traced the inscriptions on the artifact, each symbol pulsing beneath his fingers as if responding to his touch. The markings revealed forbidden knowledge, secrets of an ancient order that had once ruled over Valmira with absolute authority. They had not just feared the Forgotten Ones, they had betrayed them. Afraid of losing their dominion, they had sealed away an entire civilization, erasing their existence from history. But the spell they had woven was unraveling, its power waning with time. A wave of realization crashed over Elias. The Forgotten Ones were not lost. They were waiting. The chamber around him seemed to shift, the air vibrating with unseen energy. The weight of his discovery pressed against his chest. This knowledge was a burden, a choice that could reshape history. He now held the key to either breaking the curse and restoring the Forgotten Ones, or leaving their prison intact, ensuring the world remained as it was. As his mind raced, he heard faint whispers, voices carried by unseen winds. Restore us. Remember us. The plea resonated deep within him, sending chills through his spine. The artifact pulsed in his hands, its glow intensifying, demanding a decision. Elias clenched his fists. This was no longer just about uncovering the past, it was about shaping the future. The fate of the Forgotten Ones rested in his hands, and with it, the destiny of Valmyra itself. Chapter 8. The Mark of the Forgotten. As Elias studied the artifact, an intense heat surged through his palm, forcing him to gasp. Looking down, he saw a symbol appearing on his skin, its lines glowing like molten gold before settling into a deep, pulsing blue. The mark had not been there before, and yet it felt as if it had always belonged to him, waiting for this moment to emerge. A sudden wave of dizziness overcame him, and he clutched the nearest stone column for support. Images flooded his mind, visions of people long forgotten, their faces filled with hope, despair, and unyielding determination. He could feel their presence, their whispers merging into one solemn plea, "Remember us." He staggered back, his breath ragged. This was more than just a mark. It was a bond, a tether to the past and those who had been sealed away. He had become part of their legacy, their last hope for freedom. But his connection had not gone unnoticed. A chilling presence lurked in the shadows, an oppressive force tightening its grip around him. The dark figures who had hunted him since the moment he uncovered Valmyra's ruins had sensed his transformation. They would stop at nothing to ensure that the past remained buried. Elias knew he had to move quickly. The weight of history now rested upon his shoulders, and those who feared the return of the Forgotten Ones were closing in. With the artifact in his grasp and the mark burning on his skin, he turned toward the path ahead. The truth was within his reach, but so was danger. If he failed, the Forgotten Ones would remain lost forever. If he succeeded, the world would never be the same again. And so, with a final glance at the crumbling ruins around him, Elias stepped forward, ready to embrace the fate that had chosen him. Chapter 9. Beneath the Ruins. Fleeing deeper underground, Elias found himself in a hidden chamber, a place untouched by time and shielded from the world above. The air was thick with an ancient energy, pulsating like a heartbeat beneath the earth. Statues of the Forgotten Ones lined the walls, their eyes carved with such precision that they seemed to follow his every move. Dust floated in the dim light, suspended in time, as if even the air itself hesitated to disturb the sanctity of this place. At the chamber's center stood an imposing altar, its surface adorned with intricate symbols that pulsed with a faint, otherworldly glow. Resting upon it was an ancient book, its pages turned by an unseen force, whispering secrets long buried. As Elias stepped forward, the symbols on the walls flickered, reacting to his presence. His fingers trembled as he reached for the book, its prophecies revealing the final steps to breaking the curse. The words shimmered like liquid gold, forming and reforming in an ancient script, urging him to act. But before he could touch the pages, a voice boomed through the chamber, deep and resonant, shaking the very foundations of the ruins. "You were not meant to find this." The torches flared violently, casting elongated shadows that danced against the stone. From the darkness, figures emerged, guardians of the secret, their presence exuding a power beyond comprehension. Elias's breath caught in his throat. The keepers of Elmira's buried truth had arrived, and they would not let him leave unchallenged. Chapter 10: Secrets of the Elders. The dark figures revealed themselves, members of an ancient order sworn to protect Velmira's secrets. Their robes bore the insignia of a forgotten covenant, their eyes reflecting centuries of knowledge and unyielding duty. They had spent lifetimes ensuring the Forgotten Ones remained lost, believing their return would bring chaos and undo the balance of the world. Elias, determined to uncover the truth, challenged their version of history. His voice echoed in the chamber, unwavering in the face of their authority. The elders, however, were more than mere guardians of knowledge. They were wielders of an ancient magic, one tied to the very fabric of time. Their incantations resonated through the air, casting illusions of the past, visions of destruction, betrayal, and suffering. They warned Elias of the cost of his actions, revealing glimpses of a future in which the Forgotten Ones returned, bringing devastation in their wake. But Elias was not swayed so easily. "History has been twisted," he declared. "You fear their return because you fear the truth. I seek to right what was wronged." The eldest among them stepped forward, his presence suffocating. "If you continue down this path, you will be forced to face the consequences," he intoned. "You stand at the precipice of fate. Choose wisely, for once the past is unchained, it cannot be bound again." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. The weight of his decision pressed upon Elias, his heart hammering in his chest. Did he have the strength to defy them? Was he prepared to bear the burden of history itself? There was no turning back now. The fate of the Forgotten Ones, and perhaps the world, rested in his hands. Chapter 11: The Awakening Curse. With the artifact in his possession, Elias spoke the incantation inscribed on the book's pages. The ground trembled as a force older than time itself stirred. The Forgotten Ones were awakening. The walls of the chamber cracked, golden light spilling through. The air grew thick with power, ancient and unyielding, humming with an energy that had been dormant for centuries. The dark figures screamed in protest, their magic failing against the force Elias had unleashed. Their shadowy forms twisted and contorted as the golden energy consumed them, unraveling the enchantments that had bound the Forgotten Ones for centuries. The chamber pulsed with energy, each heartbeat of light pushing back the darkness. Elias could feel the immense burden of the ritual, his strength waning as the magic demanded more of him. His limbs felt like lead, and sweat dripped from his brow as the ritual drained his very essence. But as the light grew stronger, so did the curse that had imprisoned the Forgotten Ones. The air vibrated with a warning, an ancient balance threatening to tip beyond control. The golden light wavered for a moment, as if testing the threshold between freedom and destruction. The ancient script on the chamber's walls glowed brighter, whispering forgotten words of power. Shadows lashed out in desperation, seeking to suppress the inevitable awakening. Elias gritted his teeth, channeling every ounce of will into maintaining the incantation. The artifact in his hands grew hot, its surface cracking as its energy peaked. A final surge of brilliance erupted from within, enveloping the chamber in blinding radiance. The screams of the dark figures were silenced, their essence dissipating into nothingness. Then, silence. The golden light dimmed, revealing towering figures standing where the curse had once bound them. Their eyes burned with wisdom and sorrow, their forms wreathed in power. Elias staggered forward, gasping for breath as the weight of his actions settled upon him. The Forgotten Ones had returned, but at what cost? One of them, a regal being with flowing silver hair and piercing golden eyes, stepped forward. "You have freed us, but the world has forgotten its debt. The past does not remain buried forever." Elias clenched his fists, realization dawning upon him. The battle was not over. It had only just begun. Chapter 12. Into the Abyss. The ruins collapsed around him as the power of the awakening surged. The once stable stonework cracked and crumbled, sending debris raining down like the wrath of the forgotten past. The deafening sound of destruction filled his ears as Elias barely managed to escape, diving into an underground river that rushed through the ancient corridors of the city. The icy waters swallowed him whole, pulling him deeper into the abyss. Darkness engulfed him, the roar of cascading currents drowning his thoughts. His limbs ached as he fought against the relentless flow, exhaustion threatening to consume him. Just when his strength faltered, he finally surfaced in a vast echoing cavern, gasping for breath. As his vision adjusted to the dim glow of bioluminescent fungi clinging to the cavern walls, he saw it. A massive, foreboding gate that loomed like a silent sentinel at the heart of the abyss. The colossal structure was ancient beyond reckoning, its surface adorned with intricate carvings of arcane symbols that pulsed faintly, whispering of forgotten sorcery. This was the final barrier between the Forgotten Ones and the outside world. The sheer magnitude of its presence made his breath hitch. This was what had been sealed away for centuries, hidden from time and memory. The weight of history pressed upon him, and he realized he was the only one who could break this seal. Approaching cautiously, Elias felt a chill creep up his spine. The gate was no ordinary construct. It was locked by a mechanism both intricate and sinister, an unholy fusion of knowledge and sacrifice. A circular pedestal lay before it, etched with unfamiliar runes. The air around it crackled with latent energy, waiting for the one who dared to awaken it. Elias reached out, and the symbols shifted as though recognizing his presence, rearranging into a puzzle that seemed at once foreign and yet eerily familiar. He traced the sigils with his fingers, feeling the icy bite of their energy seep into his skin. They pulsed, responding to his touch, a language of power that spoke without words. He could sense that brute force would be useless here. The answer lay in understanding the past, in deciphering the knowledge lost to time. As he studied the inscriptions, a whisper echoed through the cavern, slithering into his ears like a ghostly breath. The voice was ancient, filled with sorrow and warning. Knowledge alone is not enough. A price must be paid. A shiver ran down his spine. His heartbeat thundered in his chest. Elias knew what he had to do. The realization sent a wave of dread washing over him. The price of unlocking this gate would not be measured in mere effort. It would demand something far more precious, something irreversible. His fingers hesitated over the symbols. He had come so far, risked so much. The fate of the forgotten ones, and perhaps the world, rested upon this moment. But was he truly ready to pay the price? Chapter 13. The Sacrificial Key. The gate's mechanism demanded more than just knowledge. It required a sacrifice, a fragment of the very soul that dared to challenge its seal. Elias hesitated, his breath shallow, his heart hammering against his ribs. The weight of centuries pressed upon him, an unspoken warning of irreversible consequence. The dark figures loomed in the periphery, their forms flickering like dying embers, shadows that whispered of past failures. They could sense his hesitation, his fear, his doubt. A whisper curled through the air, ancient and hollow. "What will you give to awaken the forgotten?" Elias clenched his fists, pushing aside the dread clawing at his mind. He had come too far to turn back now. With trembling hands, he pressed his marked palm against the icy stone. The moment flesh met rock, the world convulsed. A jolt of raw energy tore through him like 1,000 blades, each one stripping away a part of him. A cry ripped from his throat as agony burned through his veins, his soul unraveling thread by thread. The symbol on his skin erupted in golden white light, the brilliance carving through the darkness like a celestial fire. The gate groaned, its slumbering gears shrieking awake. The stone beneath Elias's feet trembled violently, sending fractures splintering outward. The shadows shrieked, writhing as the light consumed them, their formless bodies disintegrating in its path. A force unlike anything Elias had ever known surged through the chamber, an ancient hunger reaching for its due. The inscriptions on the gate pulsed hungrily, drinking deeply from Elias's sacrifice, devouring the very essence of his being. His vision wavered, the edges of the world blurring into an abyssal haze. He staggered, his limbs weak, his breath ragged. Something vital had been ripped from him, something irreplaceable. He gasped, his fingers slipping against the cold stone as the gate heaved open, revealing the gaping void beyond. A wind, colder than death itself, surged forth, carrying the voices of the forgotten. They whispered in tongues older than time, their words weaving into reality like threads of an unbroken past. The air quivered with the weight of their return. The forgotten realm stirred, its prison unshackled, and with it, the forgotten ones were free. Chapter 14. The Final Descent. As the gate groaned open, an overwhelming force surged through Elias, wrenching him from reality and plunging him into a vision unlike any before. He stood amidst a city bathed in golden light, where the forgotten ones once ruled with wisdom and grace. Towering structures of gleaming stone spiraled into the sky, their surfaces etched with ancient runes that pulsed with living energy. The air shimmered, thick with the hume of arcane power, the very essence of creation woven into its fabric. The forgotten ones, beings of celestial grandeur, moved through this luminous realm, their eyes glimmering like fractured stars. They were the keepers of knowledge, the architects of harmony, and the guardians of secrets that predated time itself. But harmony had been an illusion, one that had been violently shattered. Elias watched as whispers of betrayal coiled through the grand halls of their city, spoken in hushed tones by those who once swore allegiance. shadows stretched unnaturally, twisting into forms of treachery. The council that had once stood beside the Forgotten Ones now conspired against them, weaving a web of deception. Fear twisted into action, lies transformed into verdicts. The city, once a beacon of wisdom, turned on its own protectors, branding them as abominations too powerful to remain unshackled. The sky blackened as if mourning the treachery below. Sorcerers and scholars wielding forbidden incantations bound the Forgotten Ones in chains not of iron, but of time itself. An unbreakable void swallowed them whole, sealing them beyond the reach of existence. Their cries of betrayal and anguish thundered through Elias's very soul, a lament of injustice that defied the passing ages. Then the vision shattered. He staggered, breathless, as reality rushed back. He was once again at the ancient gate, but everything had changed. He was not alone. From the depths of the forgotten prison they had returned, towering figures, their forms shifting between the material and the ethereal, emerged from the gate. Energy crackled in the air around them, raw and untamed, their gazes locked onto Elias, acknowledging him, binding him to the fate that had now been set into motion. The world trembled under the weight of their presence, the very foundations of history fracturing as the past reclaimed its place in the present. The Forgotten Ones had returned, and the world would never be the same. Chapter 15: Rebirth of the Forgotten. The world had changed, but the Forgotten Ones had not. As they stepped into the present, their presence sent ripples through the fabric of time itself. The sky seemed darker, the air heavier with the weight of their return. Every step they took resonated with an ancient power, awakening forgotten memories in the very land beneath them. The ground trembled, as if the earth itself recognized them, whispering secrets of the past through the shifting soil. A deep, resonant hum filled the air, a sound not heard for millennia. The elements themselves seemed to respond to their awakening. Trees bent toward them as if paying homage, rivers swelled as if eager to carry their story forward, and the wind howled their names. A chorus of forgotten voices woven into the fabric of time. With each breath, the world adjusted to their presence, remembering what had been erased. Even the stars above flickered strangely, as if bearing witness to the long-buried truth now resurfacing. Lightning crackled in the distance, illuminating the horizon with ghostly brilliance. The once dormant sigils hidden beneath the earth now glowed faintly, whispering their forgotten purpose to those attuned to their magic. Shadows seemed to stretch and coil unnaturally, forming silent echoes of those who had perished in the ancient struggle. The air grew thick with the scent of rain and old dust, as if time itself was unraveling, allowing the past and present to intertwine. The Forgotten Ones did not merely return, they awakened. Their eyes burned with the intensity of 1,000 lost years, and their ethereal forms pulsed with raw energy. The weight of their suffering coalesced into something unrelenting. They did not seek vengeance alone. They sought to restore the balance that had been stolen from them. Their hands, once bound by treachery, now crackled with a power so immense that the very fabric of reality trembled in response. The rulers of today, the descendants of those who had betrayed them, would soon come to know fear. Their crimes, buried beneath centuries of rewritten history, would be unearthed. No longer could they hide behind the illusions they had crafted, the lies they had spun to justify their treachery. Justice was coming, and it would not be merciful. The temples they had built upon falsehoods would crumble, their lineage exposed for what it truly was, an empire built on stolen power and forsaken oaths. Elias, now forever marked by the Forgotten Ones, felt the weight of his newfound role pressing down on him. He was their bridge to this era, the tether that bound them to the present. His veins pulsed with their energy, his mind echoing with whispers of lost knowledge. Visions of past glories and future reckonings flashed before his eyes, forcing him to grasp the enormity of what had begun. He saw civilizations rise and fall, battles waged for truths long erased, and the final moment where betrayal had cast the forgotten into oblivion. He clenched his fists, feeling the immense force that now flowed through him. His very breath carried the remnants of their power, his pulse aligned with the ancient rhythms of the world. He could hear the voices of those who had perished, pleading, commanding, vowing vengeance. This was not merely about justice, it was about restoring what had been stolen, about reclaiming the destiny denied to the Forgotten Ones for centuries. The world was shifting. Cities would fall, empires would tremble, the Forgotten Ones had returned, and the balance of power was no longer in mortal hands. The echoes of the past, once silenced, now roared like a storm surging across the land. History had been rewritten once before, but this time it would be carved into stone with an unshakable truth. And the world was not ready for what was to come.